All right, and we are live for episode 6 of Keep Calm and Carry. Thank you all for swinging by. I sure do appreciate everybody stopping by the channel, watching the live chat. We've got a special guest this week in Persinger from the GunGuyTV YouTube channel. We're going to talk about a number of different things. And before we get into that, I wanted to discuss a few things here real quick before we get into the live discussion. First and foremost, if you don't already know, I'm on all of the different types of platforms out there: Twitter, Instagram, Facebook, and of course, obviously YouTube. You found me here. So I'll have a link to all of that down in the description of this video. If you want to come and find me, I have a lot of extra information and content on those other platforms as well. That's number one. Number two is with some of my recent videos, I've talked about a new nonprofit organization called Flint Hills Foster Teen Camps. If this is something that is interested, if you guys are interested in that and interested in supporting community outreach to foster kids, I sure would appreciate you guys just swinging by their website and checking it out. I'll have a link to that in the description below as well. But the website is www.fhftc.org. By all means, swing by, check it out. If you would like to donate to their organization, they sure would appreciate that, and I would as well. I would also like to take a moment to say thank you very much to 50 Tactical for shooting up this great shirt for me. They are a training company down in Tulsa, Oklahoma. You can find them at 50tacticaltraining.com, and you can also find them on Twitter at 5_O_tactical as well. They just had a great turnout for their woman's personal safety seminar. So that's something that is of very much interest to me, because I'm concerned about my loved ones, both my wife and my daughter, and I want to make sure that they have an opportunity to stay safe. So I'm keeping my eyes out for those types of training to help foster their knowledge and get them some more training. So there you go. That's kind of my shout outs right quick. And let's head over to the chat just to say hi to everybody. So far, I've got Alaskan Ballistics. Thanks for swinging by. I sure do appreciate it. And if you guys have any questions, by all means, hit us up in the live chat as well. And as I have mentioned before, Joel Persinger with GunGuyTV is my guest for episode 6. He is on location behind enemy lines in an abandoned warehouse somewhere in California. Joel, thanks for swinging by.
You're quite welcome. You know, in order to get to the location, I actually have to crawl under the razor wire to get into the building, and then back under the razor wire as the searchlights are going by, and escape the machine gun nests and everything else. Yeah, I'm in the People's Socialist Republic of California.
Absolutely.
God help us all.
I also want to just put out there that I think that you have got quite possibly the best voice on YouTube, and it's always a pleasure to listen to you.
Oh, thank you very much. Blue Light Special Kmart. They don't have those anymore, but that's where I bought it.
Okay.
It was on special one day. I had a high squeaky voice, so I bought this one.
That's good. That's good.
Like plug and play.
Yeah.
Well, thank you very much, Mark, for having me on your show. I think it's kind of cool.
Yeah, it's been great. You really fostered my channel and getting kind of a shot in the arm as far as subscribership goes way back, I believe, late October, maybe November timeframe we met.
Something like that, yeah.
On your channel, and I just...
You're asking an old man to remember something.
You're right. But I did want to get these live chats going for my channel and bring you on, because you have actually quite a great story, an interesting story, and you know, coming from California, you have a lot of other things that you have to deal with as far as being a supporter of the Second Amendment. So let's just throw it to you. Who is Joel Persinger?
Oh my. Well, I was pointing to my Black Rifle coffee cup, which I'm very pleased to have gotten. I drink coffee, as you can tell, if you watch my show at all. And so I wanted to get a cup that has a Black Rifle on it, and I like their coffee. So there you go. No, they're not a sponsor. I just like their coffee. That's it. And I asked you if I could do that, so now I did.
Yeah.
Well, I don't know. I'm just an old guy. I mean, I'm just a regular person. I can tell you what I'm not. I'm not a SWAT guy. I'm not a military guy. I'm none of those things, so I can't claim that any of that stuff. I own I've done a bunch of different stuff in my life, and because I'm an old guy, people say, how did you do all that stuff? Well, I'm old. It kind of adds up. I did this for 10 years. I did that for 5 years. I did this for 7 years. So I've done a lot of different things. I guess where guns are concerned and related, I've carried a gun a lot for work. I was a bail bondsman for a while, and oftentimes, you bail somebody out and they decide they don't want to show up to court, and you have to go get them. And most of the time, the overwhelming majority of the time, those folks just forgot. And you remind them and they go, oh yeah, good night, I forgot. And they'll, with a phone call, you can get them there. But every once in a while you get that, interesting, kind of frequent flyer who is in and out of the jail and doesn't want to go back, and you got to go find that guy and bring him back. So I've done quite a bit of that because you have to. It's part of the job. And no, it's not like the guy on TV, whatever his name is, with the mullet. I can never think of that guy's name. Dog. No,
yeah.
That's reality TV that bears no reality to reality. And then we owned a security company for quite some time that, among other things, provided executive protection for some high net worth individuals. So I've led a bunch of those teams. And at the same time, we did explosives detection with canines and narcotic detection with canines. So I've worked with a lot of dog handlers. I'm not a dog handler, but I've worked with a lot of dog handlers and dogs, and carried a gun for a lot of that stuff. And then for quite a while, worked for a company that had me do some very interesting things, which now I can't do anymore because I'm on YouTube and some people know my face. Not that many, but I do run into them on a regular basis. But I used to do a couple of interesting things for this company. One of which was they would hire me when somebody got they had a hostile termination. They fired somebody that was disgruntled and they were afraid of them. And they'd have me go there and pretend to work there for a week. And I'm carrying a gun to make sure if the guy goes back, shoot up the place, I could deal with that individual. And then they also had me do what are called penetration tests, which sounds like that's really rude, but it ought to belong on Pornhub or something, but it isn't. What it was is they would have me go to a company that they wanted me to see if I could penetrate their security, and I would try to get into the building surreptitiously by using ruses and that kind of stuff. That was always fun. And they give you a letter so that if you get caught, you can present the letter and say, no, I actually work for your security company, and I'm here to test your security. And it was not uncommon for me to get in, and I got pretty good at that. So I'm pretty sneaky, I guess. So I've done a lot of that kind of stuff, and some of which is quite dangerous, some of which is not. I've been, so I've done some stuff like that. And then I'm a little bit of an adrenaline junkie. I've been a martial artist for a long time. My business partner, who is not anymore because we bought him out, he and his wife out in December, is a very close friend of mine, and we're very good friends. And he's easily the best martial arts instructor I've ever known. And I've taken a number of martial arts, and he teaches Filipino martial arts. And years I spent in my backyard and his backyard stick fighting with live stick fighting, just beating the snot out of each other. And I'd be all black and blue, and I'd have bruises everywhere. And we went to a Filipino martial arts gathering, which they don't do. I mean, very seldom do they do, because the different schools are at each other's throat quite often. But they got together, a bunch of them, and one of the other gurus broke my hand as he was using me as an uke to demonstrate, and he needed surgery to put it back together. And oh my gosh, he was almost ostracized from the Filipino community because he broke a guy who was standing still while he demonstrated. He hit my hand. But I got a lot of respect that day, I guess, because they broke it like in the first half hour, and I stayed for another 5 or 6 hours and trained with this broken hand. I could go like this and feel the bones rattling around. One guy asked me why. I said, you know what? Hey, I paid my money, dude. I came here to learn. I didn't come here to get hurt and go home. So I got ice on it. And it's all black and blue. So I guess I'm a little bit of a nut in some respects. My wife one day, she says I'm not afraid of, her husband's not afraid of anything, because I'm kind of not. One day I was walking out the door late to go for a walk, and I said, I don't know if I want to go outside. I'm afraid of the dark. She said, the dark should be afraid of you. So I'm just, like I said, I'm a little bit of an adrenaline junkie, and I'm stupid. So I'm not particularly afraid of things, and I'll do all kinds of things. Although as I've gotten older, there are some things I don't like. I'm not real fond of heights. I don't even like being this tall, actually. But there's some things just I'm not as keen on heights as I used to be when I was a young guy. I used to do some rock climbing with a buddy, and it didn't bother me. But now it's gotten where I don't know if I want to do that anymore. Stuff like that. But for the most part, I'm just honestly, I'm just a regular blue collar person.
Yeah.
I don't have a PhD or anything. I didn't graduate from college. I'm just a blue collar guy that owns a small business, and my wife and I have, and we train security guards throughout the state of California. We have about, I think at last count, about just a little over 16,000 students throughout the state. That's mostly online on demand, and then we do a lot of firearms training for them. So we're on the range every week. And then I have one instructor who works for me, and he's a great guy and personal friend, and his name's Steve McGregor, and he's just an awesome, he's a terrific instructor, and so he teaches a lot too.
Oh,
that's basically it. Then we've got the YouTube channel, which, as I told you, I don't make a living on YouTube. That's more of a passion for me than it is anything else. There you go. So, long-winded answer. I apologize.
Hey, yeah, no problem. No problem. You say you're afraid of heights, and I didn't think I was afraid of heights until I went to airborne school in the Army and had to jump out of planes. Then I realized, yeah, I'm not a fan of heights either. So
let me tell you what, I've spent a lifetime learning how to fight. They don't make an airplane large enough to hold enough guys to throw me out of it. Not without one heck of a fight. And I'm taking some of them guys with me. I can tell you that right now. I'll fly the airplane. I don't even know how, but I'm not gonna. I don't want to jump out. That I've never had the courage to do that. So I applaud you. Round of applause for you. I've talked about it, but I found out that's like, my wife and I talked about having kids for years, and then we discovered that's not how you have them. You actually have to take action. Yep. Yeah, I was never going to jump out of the airplane. So good for you. I'm glad you did that.
So going over to the chat room here real quick, I just want to say hi to everybody. Logan Ballistics, the Grim Reaper, Logan White, BR549, hee haw, and Big Al. Thanks for swinging by. I really appreciate it. Big Al wanted to know what online stuff do you do, and what's the link? Is there a link that you have that they can go take a look at?
Oh, as far as the training is concerned? The easiest way to do it is go to KBTN Inc. Think Kick Butt Take Names Inc. Because that's what it stands for, KBTNINC.com. And it was a joke. I had started out with 3 business partners, Mike, who's a Filipino martial arts guru, and Jaime, who's a retired police chief, and myself. And we were sitting around having coffee trying to decide what we're going to name the corporation. I jokingly said, let's call it KBTN Inc. It'll stand for Kick Butt Take Names. I thought it was a joke. They were all serious, so that's what it's named. So if you go to KBTNINC.com, which, I don't know, is our website working? I look and see. Hold on. I may have just sent you somewhere. Oh, yes, hallelujah. It's still there. Okay, good. I'm just joking. But yeah, that's the company that my wife and I own. We bought Jaime out some years ago, and then Mike and Zariah wanted to be bought out this last year. So now it's just basically just my wife and I and Steve. So it's a small company, 3 of us, and occasionally more if we need them. That's about it.
And so that website takes you not only to all the different things that you're involved in, but also your YouTube channel as well. I think, do you have your other, not YouTube, but the other Daily Motion? Is that linked in there as well, or?
No, it isn't. Daily Motion has been a response to YouTube's craziness, because one of the battles that you face, and you're facing the same thing, Mark, one of the battles that you face as a small YouTuber, I shouldn't say that. One of the battles that you face as a YouTuber in general is when YouTube starts jerking the rug out from underneath you, you have to find another place to put your videos that is going to be stable. Because YouTube is incredibly stable. It's been around for 10 years, and it's not going anyplace. And yet, I duplicated my channel at one point on VidMe, because I thought that was a pretty good platform. Some people liked it. And then VidMe ran out of money and evaporated, went away. And that happens with these smaller channels like BitChute. I'm duplicating the channel there because people like it, and that's what they've asked me to do. Even Full30, for that matter. I hope that it's going to be stable, but it has not been open to YouTubers, new channels, for quite some time, although it looks like they're reopening it again. In large part, I suspect, because of funding. Anytime you're streaming video, it's a costly venture, and then it's very difficult to take a large amount of video and stream it. I mean, if you'll notice, if you look at my company, it's one of the things that we do. So I can tell you it's not an inexpensive proposition. Daily Motion started at pretty much exactly the same time YouTube did, and they're more popular in Europe and not as popular in the United States, but it's enormous, and it has the wherewithal and it has the strength to be able to serve those videos. So that's why I'm duplicating the channel there, and I'm almost done, is because if my YouTube channel goes away, I wanted to make sure there was a place that I knew had a good chance of not going away, rather than duplicating it in only these smaller channels. Mark, I look at YouTube like I do Netflix. If I was a guy who produced TV shows and movies, I'd want them streamed on Netflix because they're the biggest game in town.
Right.
But if Netflix said, no, you can't be here, I'd put my movies and TV shows on Hulu, on Amazon, right?
Yes, absolutely. Yep.
Same thing here. I think one of the things we're learning as YouTubers YouTube is not the only game in town, and if you're smart, you don't want it to be the only game in town because it can shut you down in a blink. And I mean, look at what's happened to 2 or 3 guys. I mean, I'm grateful that that some guys have gotten their channel back, but there's guys that haven't. I mean, Yeager's still gone, right? I mean, I don't even know if he's got a channel anymore. He's starting a new one, but
so he started a new one as James Yeager. I don't recall exactly what I think what they did was they allowed him to come back with his name, but they dumped all of his videos. He doesn't have anything from what he did prior to him getting shut down, which is extremely odd because when Hickok 45 was kicked off of YouTube and everybody screamed and hollered, they brought him back and all of his videos came back with him. But they told James Yeager, nope, sorry, once you're gone, your videos are gone as well, which I think is a big
well, the line I understand they gave him is that they deleted everything, which I think is a pile of manure as well. You're talking about when you put stuff on the web, it never goes away. It's always on some server somewhere. So the idea that they couldn't replace it is, of course, nuts. The other problem that you face that I face, and probably you face some problems I don't because my channel's a little bit larger than yours. I think I've got 58,000 some odd subscribers at this point. So it's small, but it's got enough that I have the ability to get on chat with YouTube with their creator support, and I can email them and they'll email me back. But I haven't hit 100,000 subscribers. When you get there, they assign a rep to you. I don't have a rep. So I don't have somebody that's an advocate at YouTube that can help answer questions for me, because every time, you know what it's like when you go to customer support anywhere and you're chatting with them, you always get another person than the person you talked to before. It's like walking into the DMV. It depends on which window you walk up to.
Exactly.
And so as a result, you can't get answers from them. You really have to rely on what YouTubers that have bigger channels say on their channels to kind of figure out what you can and can't do. Because if you're small, if you're not Hickok 45 with millions and millions of subscribers and they delete you, YouTube doesn't care. If they delete you, you're done, you're gone, forget it. And they're not going to listen to your argument because you have no way to contact them, because when your channel goes away, your contactability goes away unless you have a rep. I haven't got one of those.
Yep.
So, and you don't either. So unless you pulled a rabbit out of your hat somehow. So, you know, you and I are both in that weird position of we don't know what's going to happen when YouTube actually implements these policies. So you have to have a plan B and a plan C for when B doesn't work. And I've got one. And if you want to know what it is, I'm happy to tell you. It's not a problem. But, you know, that's up to you. You're the questioner. I'm just a guy answering.
Well, the great thing so far is since this has been announced, there's been so many content creators out there trying to beat the pavement and figure out what's going on. TGC has been one of the great channels out there trying to get answers. I know Hank Strange is trying to figure things out.
And he got his channel back, thank goodness.
Yeah,
I couldn't figure out why they. Well, then you got another guy, a fellow YouTuber here in California. I couldn't figure out why they tagged him. They didn't delete his channel, but they issued strikes to William over at the Daily Shooter. He doesn't post anything that would get a strike. I mean, I watch his channel. He doesn't post anything that deserves a strike. I couldn't figure it out. But again, he's small like me. Now he's closer to 100,000. I'm hoping he gets there pretty quick. And by the way, here's what I would suggest to you if you like YouTube channels is go around and subscribe to all of them.
Yep. Absolutely.
Because whether you like them or not, you want to unsubscribe later, fine. But the more subscribers they have, the more likely they are to maintain their presence. So if you don't, go around and subscribe to all of them. And that's one thing that you can do is increase that subscribe, especially if you got a guy that's got 93,000 subscribers. Good grief, get him the other 7,000 so he can get that rep.
Yep,
you know what I mean?
Absolutely. Yeah,
push him over the hump so that he has some contact with YouTube, and there's a chance that he might be able to stick around. I mean, if that's you, that's what I would suggest. I'm starting to subscribe to a bunch of them too for the same reason.
I mean, I am actually a huge consumer of YouTube. I watch most of the news that I get comes from YouTube, from a number of different channels. That is not just inside one bubble. Obviously, I don't watch a lot of gun content. The reason why I watch a lot of gun and gear content is because I want to be able to improve my channel and just make it that much more entertaining for people to watch and want people to come and watch. And then I got my silly stuff that I watch, So I run a full spectrum of different things that I like to watch, and I subscribe to just about everybody. I don't get into some of the conspiracy theorists and stuff like that.
Yeah.
I may watch them just to say, okay, that's a thing, but I probably won't get into it. But
yeah, I don't do it either. Well, I got to be honest, I'm an old guy, so I don't even like to watch television. I'm good for about 10 minutes and I got to get up and do something. I'm out in the garage or I'm doing, I can't sit. So I don't watch a lot of YouTube because I do stuff. I get bored. It bores me. I get bored after a while. I got to get up and do something.
yeah, absolutely.
So it's just who I am. I'm up doing something most of the time.
Most of the time, what I watch is not anything that you really need to actually watch. It's more of listen. So I can just plug, bring it up on my phone, plug my headphones in, throw it in my back pocket, walk around, do whatever.
Yeah.
But anyway, so so we had a couple questions here real quick.
Sure.
I'm going to go with Big Al's first, and then I want to back up to the Reaper's question because I think it falls in line kind of how we got this question set up here for you. But
okay.
Big Al wanted to know, will you be doing online active shooter courses? I need to buy an online or be able to provide in video content active shooter for our staff and clients. So I guess what he's trying to understand is, do you do any type of online active shooter training or tips? Or
it's in the works, as is training specific to security departments of organizations. One of the things I do right now is I in addition to owning the company, is I consult for organizations and go and work with their security department on a kind of a regular basis, most of them quarterly. One of which that has allowed me to say that I do it with them. Some don't want me to say that, is Saddleback Church, which is a fairly large church here in California, up in Lake Forest area, and they've got a huge campus and a very large security department, and I work with them once a quarter to help train their security department. So I go up and see them and do that. So that's one of the reasons why I'm on the road periodically, is I do that kind of work. So to answer your question, yes, that is in the works. But it just takes time. I don't know that I'll have it in the time that you need it. And the reason I say that is that we just purchased the rest of the company in December. And even though we've owned the company for 10 years and I've been very active in it that entire time, there were things that Mike was doing as one of the founders and owners that I wasn't doing. And so my wife and I have had to kind of bridge that gap and figure out how that works. So there's a whole transition thing going on. And I haven't had time to and then of course YouTube throws monkey wrenches in the works, and I'm trying to figure out how to keep the YouTube channel alive. So I haven't had the time to put the classes together. I think the other thing too is that courses like that, online courses for a learning management system, on average, you're spending 5 to 6 hours to produce every 1 hour of a course. So if you have a 10-hour course, that's a 60 to 70 hour investment in time and energy and so on. So it takes longer than people think it does to develop a course that's actually useful. I have plans for courses for active shooters. I have plans for courses specifically for churches, but then we want to make sure we're vetting the churches to make sure it isn't some terrorist taking the course. Then we have plans for those kinds of things in the coming months and coming, back into maybe into 19. And I would say probably by the second quarter of 2019, we should be done with them, but I don't think I'll have it before you need it. I wish I did, but probably going to need it before that. That's
great. Training is not something that you can just take once and just say, okay, I'm done. I've done some pistol classes with a company down in Wichita, Thunderbird Firearms Academy. Mm-hmm. And normally I would say, okay, I've done it. I've trained in the military. I think I've got that skill set. I just need now to maintain that skill set. But I'm finding that that's not the case, especially as you get older. You start to forget things. You're like, oh yeah, that's how I clear a stovepipe or whatever the case may be. So this weekend I'm heading down to Camden, Tennessee to train with James Yeager at
good for you.
Yeah, so I'm super excited about that. And
well, make sure you tell him I said hi, and he'll say who. I don't know him. I'm joking. If you tell him I say, he will say who. Who the heck is that?
Yeah,
I've never met the man, so I don't know him.
Yeah, but so like you said, it's something that you need to always continue to improve on and brush up on, and go back and pretty much rehearse to ensure that you're doing everything correctly. So even though you're putting this up later, it may be something that somebody can
Sure.
swing back around and do on an annual basis or something like that. So training never ends. Training never ends. So
Well, we have an interesting crossover too, because we do things for law enforcement but we have to be careful about that, and we can't necessarily clone that and put it out here for the public. It's stuff that, some of that stuff can't be shared.
yeah,
There's
exactly.
certain things you just can't do openly, and there's that kind of stuff that we have to worry about too. But yeah, those are in the works.
Right on. So one of the other questions that we had was from the Grim Reaper, and he wanted to know, in California, what are some of the things that some of the California gun laws that make your job difficult, more frustrating? Some of the things. What are the things that you have to deal with on a daily basis to not only train but also protect yourself as an individual?
As a YouTuber, or as an owner of a training company, or both?
Oh, go ahead and both.
Okay. Well, as a YouTuber, I mean, I think it's obvious. There's a limit to the content that we can provide because, for example, there are manufacturers that would love to send me guns to review, but they can't because they're not legal in California. So, I'm in San Diego County, so I'm not that far from Yuma, and my wife and I own a house halfway to Yuma anyway, in El Centro out there. I bought it as a hunting house years ago, and it's been rented ever since. So I've never used it as a hunting house. Beautiful house, but the beach is over there, and the house is over there in the desert. So I'm in the middle. So I stay in San Diego, but in Yuma, there's a great gun store over there called Sprague's, and I had a nice conversation with the owner recently and talked about the idea of having people send it there. So I'm trying to work out that if they can do that, then they can send it to Arizona, and that problem is solved in a rather difficult way, because it's a 2-hour drive. So you got to drive 2.5 hours to review something that somebody could send to California. I think the other issue is ammunition has become more difficult here and is going to get harder. That's one of the reasons why I got an FFL, and I have what they call a California Certificate of Eligibility, because if you have those two things, you can have ammo shipped to you directly. And so I had to work on that. And then you've got obviously the stigma of being in California. It's astounding to me, and I shouldn't probably say this, but I will anyway. It's astounding to me the number of people in other states, including YouTubers, who bag on California gun people and California YouTubers because we're in the oppressed state of California. And I would urge them instead to support us and give us, some encouragement, because whether you're in California or New Jersey or New York or whatever the restrictive state might be, you've got an uphill battle. And when your brothers or sisters or whatever, gun owners in other states, bag on you, that's not particularly positive, and it doesn't encourage you to continue the fight. So that is also a bit of a battle. Now, from a work perspective, what makes it difficult is there are certain types of firearms courses we'd like to have and run, but we can't because the firearms are non-functional. So it's very difficult for us, for example, to put together a patrol rifle class when you've got to be able, in some cases, because people are traveling here and they're not bringing a rifle with them, we're supposed to provide them with a rifle, but we have to provide them with a rifle that doesn't function properly and only give them itty-bitty neutered mags. So, how do you run that course when you have somebody from a department in Mississippi who wants to come out here and take a course, but you can't because... Does that make sense?
Yeah,
so that becomes a problem. We can't have cans out here. So even if suppressors were illegal everywhere, they're illegal in the state of California. They're considered a dangerous or what they call a destructive device. I don't know why is that if I take it off the barrel and thunk you over the head with it, it's destructive. I don't know, but it's considered.
Yep. Mm-hmm.
It's considered, could blow up in my hand. It's considered a destructive device in this state, so it's a felony to possess. And the licenses to get these things are not necessarily easy to acquire, which is why we don't have them. So there's lots of, there are ways around these things, legal ways around them. And people give me tons of grief because I take the legal way around things rather than sacrificing myself on the altar of their desire to resist. But what they don't understand is that at some point or other, when you own a business in a restrictive state and you have roots in a restrictive state, you don't want to move, and you're going to do what you need to do in order to function there. So it's a lot of things. I mean, it's difficult to get carry permits here, although I have one because I own a business and I live in San Diego County where the sheriff issues it. So my wife and I don't have that problem, but others do that have businesses here and they would like to be able to carry, and some of them can't because they're in Los Angeles County where the sheriff doesn't issue. So I don't know.
What is the process on trying to get a CCW license?
Well, it's different than most states because the state doesn't issue concealed carry permits in California. The law allows a local law enforcement authority, whether it's a chief of police or a sheriff, to issue them. And it says that the local law enforcement authority may, that's the key word, may issue a permit if they want to someone who lives within their jurisdiction, who's 21 years of age or older, is not a prohibited person, and can demonstrate good cause for the issuance of the permit. Well, that's the bugaboo, because good cause is defined by whoever the law enforcement authority is, a chief of police or sheriff. Most cases, it's the sheriff. And so the sheriff can say, well, good cause is you're a reserve police officer. Or a good cause is you gave $20,000 to my campaign. Or a good cause is you're a direct relative. Or good cause is you're a movie star. Or they can say good cause is you want it for self-defense, or anything in between. And we have the majority of sheriffs in the state of California issue for simple self-defense, but they tend to be the rural sheriffs. I would say San Diego County Sheriff Gore is kind of in the middle. He doesn't issue for simple self-defense, but if you own a business and you can articulate that their business puts you in a position where you are in more danger than the average person, he'll typically issue you a permit, which is why I have one. And then it doesn't matter where the permit is issued. It's good in the entire state. So that's frustrating too, because if you live in Los Angeles, if you live in Long Beach, which is right on the border of the Los Angeles County, you can't get a permit because the LASO doesn't issue. But if you live in Orange County, Sheriff Hutchinson's issues. So if you live in Irvine, you can get one and you can carry in Long Beach. So you're kind of a prisoner of the county that you live in.
Yeah.
It's nuts. And it flies in the face of equal protection under the law. So I don't know why it still exists, but there are a lot of lawsuits going on here in California on this stuff. People think that lawsuits aren't happening, but they are. Mm-hmm. It's just that the politicians can pass the laws 50 times faster than you can get them through the court to beat them back down again. And that's the problem.
Absolutely. Yeah. So, and that kind of leads into a question that Nick P has. He says, with states banning 30-round magazines, most people have so many of these magazines that they've gathered up over the years, whatever the case may be. Yeah. So, when those things happen, and I'm sure you went through it with California, when the state finally says, no more 30-round magazines, what do people do with those magazines? I mean, have you seen that this is something where there is a mandatory turn-in, or can they try to sell them across state borders, or what have you seen?
Well, I'm going to put on my non-attorney hat,
of course,
because I'm not one. California tried that many, many, many moons ago, back in the dark ages when we were still I was still doing my homework in high school on a stone tablet with a chisel. You could have all the magazines you wanted to, and so people bought them. I did, because when you bought the rifle, you bought the mags, right? And then I think in 1990 or 1991, somewhere around in there, 92 or something, what they did is they banned they banned the acquiring of the magazines, because they couldn't ban the magazines themselves. They had to ban just the fact that it's acquiring. Somebody's printing something with a printer over here. Sorry about the noise. Let me move my sweater off of there, or it's going to get all jammed off the laser printer there. So excuse the noise. And what the law essentially did is said that you could not buy, sell, otherwise transfer, import, or manufacture a magazine that holds more than 10 rounds within the state of California. It didn't say you couldn't possess it. It was how you got it. So if your buddy gave you one, that's otherwise transfer. If you went in another state and bought it and brought it into the state, that's importing. If you bought a parts kit and built it, that's manufacturing. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
So the cop would say, where'd you get this? And if you were stupid enough to answer the question, then you got arrested. That's kind of how it works, unless you had it before. Magazines have never been serialized, so unless it's a magazine for a gun that didn't exist prior to that. I mean, you have magazines for some type of revolver or some type of pistol or rifle or something that didn't exist previously, or you have a magazine, you have PMags, and you say, I have had them since 1990, you got a problem, because that's not likely. Absolutely. So there's certain things that you can't get away with. California decided to ban them outright, so that you could not possess them, period, because those mags that people have had for a long time, like me, have been grandfathered in all this time because possessing them wasn't illegal. They tried to make it illegal, and a federal judge threw it out, because the federal judge said that constitutes what I guess is called in law a taking of personal property without compensation, which the government apparently, thank our founders, is not legal. It doesn't have the legal power to do. They can't take something from you that is a legal product to own and then retroactively make it illegal and force you to get rid of it or take it from you without compensation. And so as a result, that law is just sitting there waiting for the Ninth Circus Court of Appeals to put on their kangaroo suits and probably disagree with the guy. And then hopefully it'll go to the Supreme Court. But right now in the state of California, if you've had those mags, as far as I know, they're still legal. Now, I got all mine out of the state because, again, I'm in a position where if I get arrested or convicted of any kind of firearms violation, every license I have goes away and my entire company collapses and my family has no income. So we just can't do that. So anything that they make it questionable, I get it out of the state, and I've got friends in Arizona and Nevada, and I leave it with them.
Yep.
I wish I didn't have to do that, but I do.
Yep. And so that kind of then leads into the next question that we got from the chat room from BR549. Hee haw. If
I love that.
Those days, yeah, right?
Yeah, I love it.
The biggest question, and this comes right on the heels of this weekend for what we saw in DC with the March of Our Lies, because it wasn't about our life. It was about all the lies that are being spread when it comes to firearms, the Second Amendment, and gun control. And so BR549 says, where do you all see the gun control issue going? And do you think a total ban could happen? And before I pitch that back to you, I'd like to drop my 2 cents in here real quick, because I'm very impassioned about this right now. One of the things that I've seen going around here lately, especially on social media, whether it be YouTube or Instagram or Facebook, whatever the case may be, is someone coming out and says, if anyone says, why do you need a AR-15? It's because you want it, because you're an American, it's protected by law, protected by the Second Amendment, quote unquote, and that you should be allowed to have it. That's why. And I see that argument. And that's, for some people, that's a valid argument. But if we changed the discussion and someone would ask the exact same question, then I think that if we approached it as the reason why I carry a weapon, the reason why I have an AR-15 to protect my loved ones and to protect my house is because of love. If we approach it with love, as you've seen with the election and how people are saying, love trumps hate. Well, you know what? Carrying a weapon to protect myself, to protect my family, to protect the people who can't or will not defend themselves is all about love, because we want to protect ourselves. We want to protect the people around us. And it doesn't mean that you turn into a vigilante. It doesn't mean that you're carrying because you are looking for a fight. It's like getting into your car. Why do you buckle your seatbelt? You don't buckle your seatbelt because you're looking to get into an automobile collision, not an accident, because there's no accidents. It's just a collision. You're not looking for that. You are trying to protect yourself from serious body harm. Well, that's why you carry. And for great states like the state of Kansas, that is a constitutional carry state, thank the Lord for that. We have that ability. For California, I wish things will get better for you. But where do I see the gun control issue going? I don't think we're going to see it go anywhere. I think we will see some things like what the ATF's doing with the bump stocks. We may see some things going on with maybe ammo sales, some weird little things that they're going to try to slip in to funding bills and stuff like that. But for the most part, I don't think that it is a winning fight. And that's what people like Ben Shapiro have been saying for quite some time. The Democrats don't want to get into a war when it comes to a political war when it comes to the gun control, because it's not a winning fight. So that's kind of my 2 cents on it. What do you think, Joel?
I think there are many well-reasoned, articulate, and well-founded arguments for why a person needs, and I'll use that term, needs a firearm of any particular type or size. And that would include AR-15s or any like rifle. The issue is that those who would take them away are not they're not interested in well-reasoned, well-thought-out, articulate, logical arguments. Half of them don't care. I mean, I would say the majority of them don't care. When you're looking at the people who really want to ban firearms, who really do, it's an ideological issue. It's an ideological issue with regard to government. Ideologically, I think that it is better to have small, limited governments so that people have the ability to decide for themselves how they want to live their lives, where they want to live, what they want to do for a living, so they can be entrepreneurial, so that they can fend for themselves, take care of themselves, be responsible for themselves. I mean, along with that comes difficulty and challenges sometimes, but my wife and I own a business, for example. I have not had a job where I actually got a paycheck for longer than I can remember, because I've always been the guy who, if I couldn't find a job, I built one, I made one. And that's the kind of spirit that I come from. However, ideologically progressive folks, or people that would fall into that liberal category, if you want to categorize people, which I generally don't like to do, are not interested in that. What they're interested in is government being in control of things, receiving things from government, that big government is good, that universal health care is good, for example, that these things should all be borne by government, and that the folks who produce the most should not only take care of themselves, but also give up a lot of that to help for the folks that don't. I mean, it's essentially, the argument is capitalism and responsibility versus socialism and shifting your responsibility to the government. In that environment, anything that argues for individuality, anything that argues for liberty, anything that argues for freedom, anything that argues for living your own life, taking responsibility for yourself, and doing what you need to do for yourself, flies in the face of that ideological argument and that belief. There is no reason to disarm a populace other than to control them. You cannot control an armed populace. So if you have a group of people who want to take into their control a group of people who are autonomous at the moment, the first thing they have to do is take their ability to resist away. So I agree. I think we can frame the argument different ways, and it would be successful if the other side was interested in hearing a different framed argument, but they're not. And it doesn't matter how we frame it or what we say, they're not, their minds are not going to be changed. So when you start looking at incremental control, look, I'm going to be totally honest with you. I couldn't give a rat's you know what about the bump stock. I don't own one. I don't want one. I don't care.
Yep.
However, it's a novelty that thousands of people have enjoyed for a long time. A lot of people go and bump fire with their finger wrapped around their belt loop, or their thumb wrapped around their belt loop, and they figured out how to do it. I saw one guy take one guy I know took a key ring and a string and worked out a way to make his gun bump fire because it was fun.
Yep.
Then they go to the range and, blow off a bunch of rounds. Come on, that's a kick in the pants. I love it. It's great.
Yep.
As a practical tool, it's not that practical. So are we going to miss it much if it goes away? Probably not. But every time, every little incremental taking, every little incremental restriction leads to the next restriction. The folks who oppose firearms and oppose freedom and oppose liberty are never satisfied with a little. I think that's the problem. That's the mistake that the president is making right now.
Yep.
They're not going to be satisfied. They're never going to like him. They're never going to like me. I don't know if Teddy Roosevelt ever said this, but there's a great movie called The Wind and the Lion, in which he said something I think was very key. He said, "The world will never love us." Talking about the United States. He said, they may grow to fear us. They may even respect us, but they'll never love us. Look, the left is never going to love us. They fear us, but they're never going to love us. And frankly, they don't even respect us. And the more that we think we're going to cause them to love us by changing and framing the argument a different way, the more self-deceived we are. They're not. It's my humble opinion that we should fight, and I don't mean physically, because I don't think we're at that point. I don't see us getting to that point. But we should fight in the courts. We should fight in the court of public opinion. We should fight on the voting booth. We should fight with the letters that we write. We should fight with the people that we elect and the people we support. We have to get up off our fannies and do that. We should fight for every inch of freedom that we have, and fight to regain every inch of freedom that we've lost. And if we don't do that, if we just vent on YouTube or vent on social media or vent among ourselves while we're sitting around the campfire drinking beer, then I think the Second Amendment can go away.
Absolutely. Yep.
I think our freedoms can be taken from us.
Yep.
I don't think it's going to be easy, but I think it can happen. And frankly, if we do that, I think it will.
And
So
that's a very great point. Even for states like Kansas, where we do have constitutional carry, where it has been written into our state constitution, if we do not continue to ensure that we are educating the people around us that this is a God-given right, regardless if you believe in religion or not, this is a God-given right. This is not a right that was bestowed upon us by man. The people who framed and wrote the Constitution said that this was God's will for us to have the right to protect ourselves. So we can't stay complacent. We've got to continue to educate. We got to continue to talk to people. We got to have discussions that are that build people together and come to mutual understandings. So that's one of the things that I hope to see moving forward. So,
well, if you don't mind my adding one thing, that is why YouTube is so vitally important. Yes, we can go to full 30. We can start a GunTube or whatever. We can put our videos all over the planet. But the place where people discover our videos, and if we do that, the people who watch them and the people who follow us are going to follow us wherever we go. But that's not additive. Yes. That's just taking the folks who already agree with us going that way. But the young person or the older person whose mind might be changed, who might not be that person who's ideologically so opposed to us that we're never going to convince them. That person's not going to find us because we're not on YouTube. Yep. And that's why I say if you're a gun owner, if you're a gun lover, if you're a Second Amendment advocate, go and subscribe to every stinking YouTube channel you can find, whether you watch them or not, because right now it's the numbers that count. And if you can push some of them, even mine, I've got almost 60,000 subscribers. If I had 40,000 come and subscribe, I'd get the rep. You know what I mean? Absolutely. And trust me, there's 40,000 out there. So subscribe to all of them that you can. That's what I'm going to do. Let's keep gun channels on YouTube, even if it's just so that we can post the videos to point to them and say, by the way, if you want to watch this content, it's available. It's not available on YouTube, but it's available over there. You can watch it over there, but you can watch this content here. And that way we're still in the public eye outside of YouTube, because it's the big Mac daddy of video services. It really is. And anything else beyond that is going to have a diminished market, and a diminished pull, and a diminished voice.
Yep, absolutely. So let's switch gears here. Let's head back over to the chat room. I wanted to say hi to a couple of people who have joined us. Lyle, he is my good buddy from around here, and head of the Kansas gun community, or what you can find on YouTube and Instagram as KSGunCom, COMM. So cool. By all means, go check him out. He's got some great content, and he does some great things there. Michelle 2 Alpha is a recent acquaintance that I've met through Instagram as well, and she is a competitive shooter, I believe, out of Pennsylvania, and hopefully here pretty soon a future guest on Keep Calm and Carry. We're going to talk about competition shooting, and what are some of the things, some of the drills that she does to stay frosty, as they say these days. We have a bit of a celebrity with us here in Jackie Billings. She is a staff writer with guns.com and Shooting Sports USA. So thanks for joining us, Jackie. It's always great to see you. And yes, you may have a grappling hook, regardless if you want it or not. I think it would help you. But if you're going to have it, you need to talk in a very raspy voice, such as Batman. So thanks for swinging by. Kevin, I can't pronounce your last name, but Kevin, hey, thanks. Don't forget Bloomberg funding a good portion of the March for Our Lives. Yeah, that's absolutely correct. I think Johnny from 182nd Ideas today on his gun gossip hit the nail right on the head, that this wasn't student-led by any means.
No, of course, that's AstroTurf.
Oh, yeah. The students, the kids are just pawns in a game of very big pockets. So, and Trump does need to spend less time in the tanning bed. Yep. I don't understand how people get that yellow, or that orange rather. So, but it's always a great thing. So anyway, let's shift gears a little bit. Let's go into a little bit of a rapid fire to kind of get
sure. Now, I do have to tell you, by the way, I just ordered from X Products the cannon with the grappling hook. It hasn't arrived yet.
There you go.
So we're going to shoot some video with that. That'll be kind of fun. So I will have a grappling hook, even though I'm not Batman, and we're going to use it to grapple something. I don't know what, but we're going to grapple something. Anyway, okay, rapid fire. Here we go.
Rapid fire. Here we go. Your favorite things. First and foremost, your favorite gun.
1911.
Really?
I have a Colt Combat Commander I bought in 1978 or 79, I think, for $186.86 out the door, and it is by far my favorite handgun. Period.
Yes. That's so. I was raised on the 1911. My dad was a big supporter, loved the 1911, and so it has a very special place in my heart, regardless of how good or bad people say it is or isn't. So 1911, that's awesome. 45 ACP. Shoot them once, they blow up into a host of stars and sparkles, I guess is what they say. So,
that's what they say.
Yeah. Favorite caliber.
45 ACP
45,
in an auto, 357 Magnum, and revolvers.
Now, real quick, you did say something about 40. What's your opinions on 40?
Oh, I'm not a caliber bigot. First of all, I think people ought to carry the caliber that they can readily, consistently, under stress, hit what they're shooting at with. I carry a 40 a lot, and there's one.
Yeah, by all means. What do you got? What do you got there?
Well, that's a Springfield XD40 subcompact. I carry it quite frequently. This is a full-size XD. I don't carry that much anymore because we don't have the security company anymore, but it's got a TLR4 Streamlight on it, I think. And I carry this little 38 caliber snubby a lot. Okay, so now I've just said my favorite calibers are 45 ACP and 357 Magnum. I don't carry either one. Well, there's a reason for that. One, I owned a security company, and a lot of clients, when you're running a security business, a lot of times that follows law enforcement. Law enforcement's carrying 40s and 9s, and so the most popular calibers that clients wanted were the law enforcement standard calibers, which were 40 and 9. So when I bought guns that I would be carrying concealed for clients, or bigger gun for whatever, I bought 40s for that reason. We don't have that company anymore because we sold the accounts. If I were to go and buy those guns again, I'd buy both the XDs and 45. ACP, but I bought them for what they are. And they're great guns, and I don't have a problem with 40, which is why I still carry it. Why don't I carry 357 Magnum and a snubby? Well, because if I were to do that, you got a flame that comes out of this thing about 6 feet long, because I'm not that far, and you blinded yourself, and you got no benefit out of the Magnum because you burn all the powder out of the front of the barrel. So I carry a 38 with plus Ps in it. If I was carrying a full-size revolver like my Smith & Wesson Model 66, I'd put full boat 357 Magnums on it. And my dad carried a Colt Python for years as a deputy sheriff, so I was kind of raised around 357 Magnum anyway. So anyway, there you go. But I have no problem with people carrying whatever they can handle and whatever they shoot well. Can you hit the bad guy multiple times with it and do so under stress? Yes. Okay, carry that. I got a bigger one you can do that with? No. Okay, we'll carry the other one then. That's, right? Whether that's a 9 or a 380 or a 40 or a 10 millimeter. I don't care. Whatever works.
So I just have to put out there, if you guys are watching the chat room, you may see Jackie Billings and myself going back and forth about 9mm and ACP. This is a long-standing feud that both of us have had for a long time, and it's just in jest. She accuses me of being a caliber bigot. Just saying, as she says. So, I had I watched a video of someone saying, here's how you win the caliber war. If someone says, oh, why are you carrying a 380? Why are you carrying a 9mm or whatever the case may be? 45 is the way to go. And it's like, okay, well, that's fine. Hey, here's what we're going to do to settle this argument or this discussion, however you want to say. I'm going to have you stand over there about 7 yards away from me, and I'm going to pull out my 380, and I'm going to shoot you twice in the chest. And when you get up, if you get up, then you can shoot me with your weapon, and then we'll go that way and see what happens. But obviously, that's just play. We would never do anything like that. But that's kind of how you win the argument with these guys, or with their big jaw drippers, britches on. And it's like, oh, 45 ACPs. That's the only thing you need to do, or whatever the case may be. So
my company is called Practical Defense Systems for a reason.
Yeah.
When particularly we're working with civilians, it doesn't matter to us. What matters is are they proficient with the weapon? It's not the weapon, it's the person behind it. It doesn't matter whether it's a 380 or a 9 or whatever. Bigger's obviously sometimes better, but not if that person can't handle it. I mean, you got to put rounds on target. You cannot miss the bad guy fast enough to get him to leave you alone. So if you can hit it consistently with a 9, do it.
Yep. So, and that's, Someone's asking what is fit carry. Fit carries a 9mm. That's what I grew up on in the military. That's what I've come to be used to. Jackie is asking if I am compensating for much when I'm carrying 45. Jackie should know, yes, I am compensating because she carries a Glock 19, whereas I carry a Glock 26 on a daily basis. So I have to compensate a little bit there. So, but again, Jackie and I, great friends. We love to poke at each other when it comes to that. So let's get back to the rapid fire, because I wanted to get a little bit more into what more about who Joel is. So real quick, favorite movie. What's your favorite movie? I'm a big movie guy. What's your favorite?
The Wind and the Lion. I mentioned it earlier.
Oh, okay.
It's an old movie, but I like it a lot. But that's one of I have a bunch of favorite movies. I just pulled that one out of the top of my, out of my hat. But I have a few. That's one. I like that movie a lot.
Yep. And who plays Teddy Roosevelt in that? Do you recall?
What's his name? Gosh darn it, I could see him. Redheaded guy. Sean Connery oddly enough, plays the Middle Eastern guy, which is weird because you got this Middle Eastern guy with a Scottish accent. And he said, do not call the Julia do. So he's got this very Scottish accent. Oh my gosh, I can't think of his name. I can see him. But anyway, so you could Google it. The Wind
I
and the
will.
Lion.
I will.
It's
I will.
great
The Wind
movie.
and the Lion. I got it.
Yeah.
All right. And then, do you get a chance to read very much at all? And if you do, what's your favorite book?
What's my favorite book? The Bible.
Oh, there you go. Yeah, very good. It's very interesting you bring that up, because
although I do like westerns, and I like Zane Grey, and I like there's a lot of stuff like that. But yeah, my favorite poet is Robert Louis Stevenson. I don't know. So I do read a lot, but I can't sit and watch the television. It drives me crazy.
That's good. Something that was said to me by one of my first history teachers when I was trying to get my associate's degree completed, oddly enough, on the 4-year program. But the last class that I took to get my associate's was a history class, and the professor said, which at the time wasn't very controversial, but if you would have said it today, he probably would have been fired. He says, if you want to read the greatest history book of all time,
it's the Bible,
then you need to start reading the Bible. Yep.
Yeah.
And I was like, whoa, I didn't even consider that. So, but yeah, right on. So, we talked a little bit about it. You hit on it a little bit there at the very beginning. But one of the ways that you stay active is that you participate in a number of, or at least one, martial arts. Explain that martial art so people understand a little bit better.
Which one?
The Philippines.
I spent a number of years studying Tang Sudo, and I got a black belt in Tang Sudo, and then Taekwondo for a while. And there's a couple of different versions of that. And then Chen style Taiji Quan, because I liked it a lot, and my instructor and his wife are just amazing. They've moved to Las Vegas many years ago, but it was Shifu Mike Patterson, and they're like family. And he teaches Xingyi and Bagua and some other things. And then after many years of being in the martial arts, I met Mike Ritz, my former business partner, who's a very close friend, through another mutual friend who was taking classes with him. Went out to the park to meet the guy. We sparred for a little bit, and after about 16 years in the martial arts, he beat the crap out of me for 20 minutes. I said, that's awesome. I got to learn from you. So he teaches what he calls combat eskrima, which is a mix of a few different things. And I've studied some traditional families of Filipino martial arts a little bit too. His is less traditional, and really involves a lot of different stuff. And it would take me, we'd be on here for hours if I was talking about that with any length. But would suffice it to say that with Filipino martial arts, there's a couple things I love about them. One is everything is a blade, a stick, a knife. All movement comes from that, whether it's 1, 2, 3, whatever angle you're coming from. If I'm coming from this angle with a blade, I'm coming from this angle with a hand, I'm coming from this angle with a stick. It's all the same. So once you've learned one thing, you've kind of learned how to use every tool, and that's one of the nice things about it. The other thing I love about it is the philosophical statement that if it works, it works, or it doesn't work. If you are in a real fight and you find out that doesn't work, well, stop using that. If you find out that works, okay, well, use that. The other thing that I think he's brilliant at is he adapts it to the individual students. A lot of martial arts are very forms driven, which there's nothing wrong with that. But if you're training 500 guys, you've got to teach them all to move the same way. So, you know, your movements is all the same because you're trying to get a group of people to do it. On the other hand, you have the issue that this guy's now 70 years old, and this guy's 35, and this guy's 18, and their bodies. I'm old. Our bodies. My body cannot do what it did when I was 20. I can kick people in the head, but it takes an awful lot more exercise to do it, and I got to stretch an awful lot more. So that's not a practical thing for a guy my age to really learn to do. And I like the Filipino martial arts because they tend to work with what you have, not what you don't. So it's been a great study, and I've enjoyed it a lot. They're also, with Mike in particular, there's consequence to screwing up.
Yep.
If you're stick fighting and I'm not talking about with padded sticks. I'm talking about no padding, no nothing, and you've got live sticks, you've got rattan sticks, and you're trying to hit him, and he's trying to hit you, and the rule is hit him, don't let him hit you, and you get hit. There's a consequence to that. You've broken a thumb, you've broken a finger, you've got walloped pretty good. That doesn't work quite so well. You got to wait for that to heal, or whatever the case might be, or you got a big knot on your head. And that's how you learn. I mean, I've sparred with Mike and some of his students with live blades. You spar with a dull blade, and then later on you're sparring with a live blade, which means now that you got a live blade, there's a pucker factor associated with that. And now everybody's more concerned about what they're doing. It's not a game anymore. They're not reaching out there where they shouldn't reach. And so that's where you really learn how it's no different than from a gun perspective, training with Sims. I don't know if you've ever been hit with a Sim. I've been hit with Sims. I don't want to be hit with Sims anymore. Yep. Those suckers hurt. Well, you realize how quickly you can be dead because this guy popped you with, 3 Sims, and you're like, where did he come from? I didn't look that way. Well, there's a consequence to failure. And that helps you learn not to do that again. Let me do that differently. Then I won't get shot, and you get better as you go. And so it doesn't matter what combative skill it is. Shooting is a martial art if you're using it for that purpose. Then you want to train in some way that gives you a consequence, whether it's paintball or airsoft or Sims, something that stings. And you go, okay, well, I could be dead. Take it seriously. Go back and learn what worked different. The Filipinos are all about that.
Yep. So one of the questions that we got from the chat room in regards to some of these martial arts from a Guile K9 Top Dog is, what do you like the karambit knife? Are you familiar with that?
I'm not. I'm sorry. You just asked me something I don't know. I'm sorry. Okay. I have to admit my colossal ignorance there.
That's okay. It's I believe it's from the islands, Philippine, Indonesia, maybe, but it's a half moon shaped knife that usually has some type of eye hole at the end.
Oh, I do know them. I didn't even know what they're called. They're very cool, and I've practiced with them. But again, I live in California, so I tend to practice with the knife I can actually carry. And so whatever kind of folder it is, because in California California has very open knife laws to a degree, but it sometimes can be a little weird where that's concerned. So I generally carry a folder. I like the Spyderco Waves, and I like this Cold Steel Raja, and I like them both for the same reason. Because when I draw the knife, this catches the edge of my pocket and flips the knife open. So if I put the knife in my pocket, I'll put it in my pocket here, all I have to do is draw it properly, and it's deployed.
There you go.
So that's a way to train a blade, and it doesn't matter whether you're using a sock or Pakal grip. I'm speaking. It doesn't matter whether you're holding it this way or this way. Sorry. You've got a knife that's deployed, and it's deployed immediately, because a lot of people have knives, but they don't know. They don't practice drawing them. Well, a lot of people have guns. They don't practice drawing them.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. Dry firing, dry draw is always a great way to practice, and with knives as well. My brother, for my birthday, got me a brand new knife. It's a Smith and Wesson knife that he found at Academy Sports. We've become
Mm.
big fans of Academy Sports because of what the kind of their stance on different things, and how they're not going to get rid of ARs like Dick's did. But anyway, it has the same type of deal, and I didn't even realize that. Yeah, pulling from my pocket that way is going to help get that blade out quicker. So um, sorry guys if we're getting an echo. I do apologize. I'm not sure. I don't hear it from here.
I don't know. Is it coming from my end? I don't hear it from here. So
Yeah, Michelle at 2 Alpha says that there's hearing feedback on when Joel speaks. So
well, let me
apologize.
try. I'll tell you what, hold on. Let me pot it down a little bit. Maybe that'll help.
Okay.
I don't know if
So
that's
with that being,
does that help any?
we'll see here in just a second. Let us know if the audio gets better, guys. The couple more people jumped in from in on the chat room. Bald and Curious. The says that I'm the famous revolving door guy, or Mr. Revolving Door. If you saw Gun Gossip today, I was featured on Gun Gossip. So thank you very much. Just a quick update on the Brownells P365 issue. I pre-ordered one earlier this month, and I got an email from Brownells stating that that they are striving to do their best to fulfill each and every single one of those orders. However, with the backlog and the many orders that they have had, that I should expect that my order to be fulfilled here in the next couple of weeks. So I don't know about anybody else. I don't know if you've gotten an email there, Big Al or the Grim Reaper, but my P365 may be delayed a little bit further. I'll try to call them tomorrow or before I get out of town here at the end of the week to see if they have any further updates on that. And with that being said, if you guys have any other questions, I'm going to try to get back through here and see if there's anything else going on in the chat room. A lot of people talking about different calibers, different pistols that they're carrying. So I really appreciate that discussion. Thanks again for letting me know about the sound issues. I sure do appreciate that. But
I'll try not to echo.
Oh yeah, right. Oh, one question popped up was what's your favorite band?
Well, I have a bunch of them, and they're all from the 70s.
Sometimes that's the best music. Right there.
I was born in 1958, so I like Steppenwolf, I like Pink Floyd, I mean, I could go through all the rock and roll bands from way back when. I particularly like some music from Chicago. I like Creedence Clearwater Revival. I like, but as far as modern music is concerned, I know songs I like, but I couldn't tell you who sung them. Yeah. I've turned into my parents. When I have, when I was a kid, my parents didn't know anything about my music. My daughter asked me today, Dad, do you know this song? And I said, no. And she's, she's not a child, but nevertheless, I mean, there's a gap still, right? It's like my son, my son, Nick, he's a great big guy, and he listens to music, and he'll ask me, hey, Dad, and I go, no, I haven't heard that. And then he'll play the song. I go, oh yeah, I heard that on the, I like that, but I don't know what it is. So it's all 70s stuff as far as I'm concerned, because that's my high school time. So,
yep.
In fact, my best friend just turned 60 on Saturday. We've been friends for, I think, since we were, 11 or something like that. And his name's Chris. He's a retired gunnery sergeant, and he and I have been best friends since we were kids. So there you go. And I think if you ask him his favorite music, he'd tell you the same thing. So there you are. We're old.
Right on. Right on. Well, I mean, we've been on for over an hour now. I tell you, when Joel and I get together and we chat, we had a great time at SHOT Show. We got together and stood in front of Daniel Defense and talked for, I would imagine, probably about an hour and a half, if not more.
Well, I'm half Italian. It's the Italian part. I'm Italian and German. The German part doesn't talk much, but the Italian thing, the hands go and I'll just go. If you're silly enough to let me talk, I'll just take over. I don't mean to. It's just kind of what it is.
Absolutely. And, of course, naturally, I learned a lot. And one of the things that you really impressed upon me when we did have that conversation was the fact of, how do I improve my channel has always been a question I reach out to people with. And one of the things that you mentioned was, if you want to be successful, then you need to act successful. And I really took that to heart. I've shared that with other people, and everybody's like, yeah, of course. I mean, duh, but you went deeper into that, and I sure do appreciate all that information that you provided
Oh,
me.
you're welcome.
Yeah. So we're going to go ahead and wrap it up here. Joel, again, thank you so much for being with us. And I'm just going to turn it over here to you for the last little bit here. Whatever you want to throw out there, by all means, tell us where you can find us, or where everybody can find you. And if you got anything else in store coming up here pretty soon that you should stay tuned for, share that as well.
Mark, you're a crazy person. I just told you I'm half Italian, and if you let me go, I just go forever. And he says, "Go ahead, you just take it and run." I think if I were going to mention anything, I would mention again. Getting back to just briefly the stuff going on with YouTube right now. It really is critically important that Second Amendment advocates support firearms related YouTubers, whether they like them or not, whether they subscribe to them or not. I know for me, because I'm in that weird spot in the middle, like you are. I'm actually kind of in the middle. You're smaller than me, so you've got a weirder thing going on than I do as far as trying to figure out what to do. Is not knowing what to do. I may end up shutting down the channel entirely, marking every video private, and then putting up one video that says, if you want to watch my new content, it's here and it's there and it's there. And I'll bring the channel back. Right now, I want to wait and see what happens when YouTube unleashes this, and then maybe I'll be able to figure out, by virtue of the fact that it banned these 36 guys, what they got banned for, and then I can go back and adjust and adjust what's in the comments or what. Because you hear gee, you can't have links in your comments to anybody that might sell a firearm. Well, I've got to go through all 300 and some odd videos and fix that then, and I don't know what the rules are. So, yep. I would say to not just to you, Mark, but also to your subscribers and people that watch your channel, support the YouTubers who are firearms related, and be patient with them, because in order to save their channels, they may have to make choices like that. And that's hard because we want to watch what's going on. If that's the case, follow them wherever they go, but help them stay on YouTube, because without YouTube and without us being on YouTube, our voice is going to be severely diminished. Now, as far as me, yeah, you can find me on YouTube, GunGuyTV. You can go to Daily Motion, which a lot of people haven't heard of, and you'll find GunGuyTV there. I've started a channel on BitChute, I think is how you say it, and you can find it there. Although not all the content is there, we're uploading it as fast as we can. As you did, Mark, I just reserved my channel name at full 30, and I don't know how long it'll take for them to invite me to upload stuff, but hopefully we'll be there as well. And I think I'm just going to put my content everywhere I can. The one place it will never be, if you don't mind my saying so, is on Pornhub.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah,
I'm a Christian. I'm not putting content on Pornhub. Sorry about that. But other than that, I would say that's about it. So you can find me. If people have questions for me, you can always send me an email. And I'll do my best to answer them. My email address is really simple. It's Joel, Joel, at kbtninc.com. You can also send it to GunGuyTV at Gmail. I mean, it'll all go to the same place. So there you go.
Yep. Outstanding. Well, again, Joel, thank you so much for taking the time out of your busy schedule. I know you're busy. I know you've got a lot of things going. You got a number of different irons in the fire, as they say, and taking time for a guy like me that's got couple here pretty soon, hopefully 3,000 subscribers. It means a lot. And one of the reasons why I'm at this point is because of you, and pulling me over onto your channel and kind of boosting me that way as well. So you've been a big part in supporting this channel and making it what it is, and I sure do appreciate it.
Well, may I make a suggestion?
Oh, absolutely.
Send me a copy of this. I'll post it on the channel. and point them back your way. I mean, we did it. Why not? I mean, let's post it both places. I'll put them back your way. You know, I think the one thing I want to just remind you of, and I think I shared this with you at SHOT Show, is Mark, you do a great job on your channel. You have a very interesting channel. I like it a lot. Your value is not defined by the number of people that subscribe.
Well, I appreciate that.
That's going to grow on its own, provided we're all still on YouTube. I mean, I don't know, provided we're still here, or it'll grow somewhere else. I would say just hang with it, keep doing what you're doing. I'm happy to help you any way I can. So if you want, if you're open to that, send me a copy of it. I'll post the whole thing on GunGuyTV and aim people back your way.
Yep, absolutely. Once we get done with this, it's going to save itself on my channel, so I can send you the link. I'm not sure if there's a way to do
I can download it.
You know. Okay, there you go. So again, Joel, appreciate it. Thanks. We're going to go ahead and wrap things up real quick. For those of you that are in the chat room, thanks so much for being a part of this live chat. As always, I'm trying to do these week after week. I wasn't able to do it last week because of spring break. Next week, I will be traveling back from Camden, Tennessee, once I get done training with James Yeager. So that's going to be a lot of fun, and I can't wait to get down there and get some rounds down range. So for those people that are in the chat room, we've got we actually have a couple YouTubers in there with Bald and Curious. So go check out his channel. He's a guy up northeast, and has a lot of great videos out there that he does. He's a bit of a competition shooter, so like to see him shoot really fast, and some of the different pistols that he shoots is different than mine. Michelle 2 Alpha is, like I said, a competitive shooter. She has a channel that is smaller, but still has a lot of value, and she has a lot more content coming up, and she's also on Instagram. And then, of course, a good friend of mine, Jackie Billings, support her in her writing as she writes for guns.com. She's also starting to kind of build her Instagram presence with her Micro Warrior tag. So by all means, support those people in the chat room as well. Kevin, the Grim Reaper, BR549, Alaskan Ballistics, you guys are my rocks. You guys are always there. Thank you so much. If I missed somebody, I really do appreciate it, but I know there's a number of different people that are always there, and I sure do appreciate you guys swinging around. Again, Joel Persinger, you guys can find him on YouTube at GunGuyTV. You can also go through his YouTube, and you can find him, find his website. Again, one more time, Joel, what's the website?
Oh, I mean, they can go to Practical Defense Systems, or go to KBTN Inc. They can also just go to GunGuyTV, GunGuyTV.com, GunGuyTV.net, GunGuy.tv. It'll take them to the same place. So.
All right. So there you go. I really appreciate it. Again, Joel, thank you, everybody. And as always, keep calm and carry. Have a great night. See you guys later.